And so I decided to apply for a job at Glassboro. I wrote a letter, sent my dossier down, and received a telephone call from Jim McKenzie, who was at that time chairman of the English department. The college was expanding at the time, and so we scheduled an interview. I think it was on a Saturday, probably a Saturday. I came down to the prearranged site, which was Jim McKenzie's apartment house, the Evergreen Apartments in Pittman. And then we got in his car, and then he drove me down to the college, to Hollybush, where Thomas and Margaret Robinson lived. So it was a very informal, rather lovely visit. I think it was in early May. I'm not sure whether I think that the peach orchard, which was in this space, I think that they had lost their bloom and they were leafing out. And I remember that it was a very comfortable day. And so we sat on a little back porch in Hollybush and had a long, interesting discussion. One of the things that stands out in my memory was that Margaret, Mrs. Robinson, came back from their garden holding a bunch of asparagus that she had just cut. And they had a vegetable garden there along with a flower garden. And so when I was introduced to her, she was holding these asparagus, which was kind of nice. Dr. Robinson asked me a lot of questions about my previous activities. I don't know how we finished up the conversation, but I think it was time to leave, and I got up and told him that I was very pleased with the afternoon, enjoyed it, and on the way out, we to Jim's car, and he said, "Well, you're hired." I said, "I'm hired." I said, "How do you know?" He said, "Dr. Robinson nodded." I said, That's easy." The institution was so different than it is now, and very quickly became. I'm not sure what the student enrollment was, but in 1960, but the following year, for the Oak in 1961, Dr. Robinson wrote a little message, as he always did, for the yearbook. And he was very proud to explain the big growth they had experienced. And for the first time, they were going to have more than 1,300 students. We were just changing, really, from a normal school to a college. And for years, this had been Glassboro State Normal School. Then they called it Glassboro State College. But we only provided elementary school degrees. People came to prepare to be elementary school teachers. The English concentration, I think, may have begun the year before I came, but and then a history concentration. But they were the first two programs in secondary education that people took. When I came, and the growth was substantial. Everything was in bunts. No, absolutely everything. It was called College Hall. The auditorium was both the auditorium and the gymnasium in the back. And so that you went to have concerts there, but that's where the basketball team played. So you had to get there relatively early to get a seat in the center that permitted you to watch both baskets. Because if you were in the back on one side, you could never see the basket on this side. It was not the best place to watch basketball. But the lunch room was there, the little snack bar was there. And they had, I think, well, they had moved the library to a little building called Savitz Library, but it was a tiny little building. But that freed some space. I used to have classes here on Saturday morning, in addition to classes that we taught during the week. When I was hired, a lot of other people were hired, and our children grew up with other faculty members' children. That became our social life. We would be here for all day, almost every day. So we did so many things together, and then it was hard for me to disassociate friendship, neighborliness from being a faculty member. So my closest friends tended to be associated with the institution. So the institution became, I don't want to say family, but certain parts of it became very, very important. And I guess I've outlived them all.